everyone. We have some unsuspected people here today. Yeah, so we'll have to we're going to. Do you have ever heard this topic, non-duality? Yes, a little bit.
Yeah.
A handful, all right. Let me move this tree on here. Well, non-duality is taking the word non-duality at face value. Non means not, and duality means two. Yeah, so the closest proximity of that event is where we are sitting. So sometimes you're the thought about, which would be the object, yes? And sometimes you're the thinker, which would be the subject. Yeah, watch your head. Sometimes it's going over you, yeah, as an object, and then it presents itself as a subject. So non-duality is just that. It's not that, not two. Yeah, so thinking does not mean there's a thinker. There's just thinking. Seeing does not mean there's a seer. There's just seeing. Hearing does not mean there's a hearer. There's just hearing. The head reacts to seeing, and it doesn't look for a seer. It just implies one. Yes, it never sees things, but this is how the head works in a dualistic manner. Yes. So if there's an action, there has to be an actor. If something happens, it must have happened to someone or was done by someone. It doesn't see that this life could just be verbing. It sees there's got to be a noun involved. Yeah. So noun and verb, subject, object, these are the not of the duality. So first you see the duality of things, and then you greet that duality with a negation, so to speak. You know, you're not that. And the most tried and true method of losing interest in what you're not is to see you're not that. Yeah. The interest to it is because you think all the thoughts have you as that which is being thought about, or the thinker. Yes. So the whole system pertains to an idea of self, and then interprets everything to reinforce that idea of self. Yeah. So if you look at seeing, is it essential for seeing to occur that it has to have a seer? No. I'm going to rush in and give you the answer. Yeah. So if you look at seeing is essential for there to be a seer. Yeah. But the seer is not essential for seeing. Yeah. What happens is the seeing gets underemphasized and the seer gets emphasized. So you lose the sense of the seeing, which is what we actually are, and you get a mental or a manufactured sense of being a seer, which is pictured as a body. Yes, obviously. When you're remembered, when you, Y-O-U, are remembered in the memory, you're pictured as a body. Yeah, you do not believe as a spirit you went to Hawaii 3 years ago. Yeah, when you think about being in Hawaii 3 years ago, you're pictured as a body. It's the only way you can be pictured. Yes. So the system there's a interesting book called The Course in Miracles, which was sort of an event. Information came through this lady who was a psychiatrist, I think, and this information was cataloged into a thing called The Course in Miracles. A lot of people have found great solace in it, yes, and a very, very sound explanation of what's going on here. But one of the most important things it says is the brain interprets to the body of which it is a part. Yeah. So something's taking in the information that's occurring, yes, and collating it and then presenting it. Yeah, that would be the brain, let's say. So the brain interprets to the body of which it is a part. That's all you really need to know, because you're going to hear everything based on you as a body. Yeah. How your life is going to be interpreted as you as a body. So the thinking will not be seen as an act of thinking. It will imply the thinker, and you'll be pictured as a thinker, as a body. Yes. It's just that simple. It's mechanical. There's no volition. There's no choice. The idea of choice comes from the idea of being an individual. Yeah. So the individual, if the individual story wouldn't have a leg to stand on if you were not the doer or pictured as a doer of this life. Yeah. Because then you would be in a quandary of whose life is it anyway. And the head doesn't like that unsurety. So it gives us a story. Yeah. Now that story can be cool, but many people are suffering from that story because the preoccupation grows at the expense of living, so to speak. And now people, there's a lot of screens people see themselves in. There's infinite scrolls. There's Narcissus has like a mobile pond now. You can just be absorbed in yourself all day. It travels with you. And, there's examples. I was watching this, there was a video of this bus, and it was above the driver, and it was a young lady in the first seat. And it was just a bus, a camera on a bus, I guess, watching who would come in and go out. And then there was an accident, and the girl was on an iPhone or whatever, one of those things, a phone. She was absorbed in there. Then the bus went into this roll. It had an accident, and you could see her going 360, holding on to that like it was the life preserver. The last thing she was going to let go of. She would have let go of her life before she let go of that phone. Something's off. Seriously, something is seriously off. And when I was surfing, and I went into the rocks, I tried to save the board more than me. The board, which was and it was a used board, it was probably worth 200. At that point, was more valuable to the head than I was. It was like, save the freaking board. And when I hit my head once and got a concussion, and it shut my body down because I had concussions before. This one shut the nervous system down. And then they took me out of the water, and I hadn't had any thought had passed in a while. Everything was just like gilded gold around it. And then I was put on the water. I got out of the water. They put me down. And then the first thought I had was, I can't pay for the ambulance. Let me die here, basically. And I learned something early on, that one of the big instincts is self-preservation. Well, I see that to be true, but what's trying to preserve itself isn't you. There's something that's taking itself as you, and we're going along with that plan, and it is looking out for its advantage and its agenda at the expense, a lot of times, of yours. Yes? You notice it. Watch a person come out of Starbucks, they start falling. They want to save the coffee. Yeah. Someone riding a bike starts going off the thing. They'll push the bike onto the street and fall off the cliff. The value that the head has of you is in the low echelon. It's taking many, many things more important than you are. And yet the obsession is incredible. So non-duality can be, there isn't a duality planet. Yeah. There isn't good and bad, hot and cold, yes and no. This is how things are seen. Yeah, we see because we are predicated on a dualistic premise, we see everything dualistically. Yes. So it's yes and no. I could do that. I don't have to do it. It's on and on. Yeah. And basically it's a projection, because there's not a planet that has the morals and the beliefs and the emphasis and the values that we project. It's just nothing. It's like a screen, so to speak. Yeah. So you don't have to really learn duality on a massive movement like high and low tides, a duality of life. You can see the dualism of where you are. 1 second you're thought about, a next second you're the thinker. Yeah. And unfortunately for many people, the self-awareness, so here you are in a blissful state, really doing shit, and then you become self-aware you shouldn't be doing that shit, and then the object of you gets really emphasized, and you have the subject of you critiquing it all day. Yes? Wow, it's insane. I remember when I was a kid, I remember it. There was a period of time where whatever I did, I was doing it. Yeah, if I ran in a room, I just ran in the room. Took off the clothes, took off the clothes, everything like this. And then one day I ran in the room and it was accompanied by thought. Yeah. And then there was thoughts about why maybe I shouldn't have run in the room and so on and so forth. And then that object of self got obsessed, and the obsession was shown by the subject of self. Yeah. So you're not much, but you're all that you think about. Yeah. Yeah. And there's a great guy called Wei Wu Wei says, uh, why you're so sort of unhappy is like 99.5% of your occupation is with you and you're not one. So uh, I came in the community of recovery, and in recovery people would have to point out to you, hey, you got to save your ass instead of your face. Yeah. But when I came in, I thought my face was my ass. So this image of me, I was attempting to save quite a lot at the expense of my own life in the addiction. Yeah. So non-duality is just that, seeing the two. Yeah. And then maybe you'll hear something, maybe from an old Zen master, and the old Zen master will say, whatever can be perceived, yeah, which is we're perceiving right now. Yeah. Do you feel like you're efforting to perceive right now? Do you go to a seeing workout in the morning? No. You're not sweating, are you? You've seen too much. It's not even 12. I've seen way too much today. I can't take any more seeing. No, seeing is happening really without anything on your part. It just occurs. Yes? Yeah. So this statement is whatever can be perceived, which is everybody here. Yeah. Painting here, uh, perception of depth in a situation. This is closer to me than the kitchen table, all that stuff, all that's happening. Whatever can be perceived cannot be that which is perceiving. A beautiful statement, really. I'm not asking you to do anything with it. I just putting it out there, whatever can be perceived. So I'm seeing something called Amanda, and I meet Amanda through the body identification, right? As a spirit, I don't know what room Amanda is in as a spirit, but as a body, I can say there's Amanda. So I am perceiving Amanda, yes? But that which I'm perceiving is not perceiving, it's a thing. And that which I think is perceiving is a thing. Yeah. And he's saying whatever can be perceived, which is these things, cannot be that which is perceiving. Okay. Now you let that come up into your own head and listen to your head. Your head is built on the complete opposite statement. It says that which can be perceived is what's perceiving. So the seeing has a seer that's doing it. That's not true. Seeing, there's no essential aspect of the seer except for the idea of being the seer. The seeing doesn't need any seer, but the see is completely based on the claiming of seeing. So most of our life is just going on, and our interpretation, the head's interpretation is trying to catch up, basically. Yeah, and just tell us a story about what we've already experienced. Yes. Yeah. So this is what flips me out. You go to work, you're there all day, you go home, get home maybe around 7 o'clock after the second beer, your head starts telling you you had a bad day. Wouldn't you know you had a bad day when you were bad daying it? But you've been on a delay system for 12 hours, and then the head breaks the news to you. You had a bad day. And then the evidence that you did have a bad day starts dropping. Yeah. And then by 8:30, you pissed off at some person from work where the guy never even thought about you the whole day. And you never thought about them. But now you have a reality that you had a bad day. And then you call someone else up. Let's go get drunk. I had a bad day. On and on and on and on. This is not true. Yeah, it's not. So there's a replacing of living with an interpretation of a life. And the interpretation of the life gets overemphasized than the living. That's why you love looking at a kid, because there's nobody home yet. She does not know she's different. She does not know she's whatever name you've tried to give her. She has not adopted that name. She's just there, blah, 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 blah. And the beauty of a kid is there's nobody home in a way. That's what's so attractive to us, because she could be taking a shit right now. She's not embarrassed. She's burping and farting and doing tons of stuff. And none of them are going, I'm burping, I'm farting. I bet you there is no name that's the doer of all the shit that's going on through her. No name. That will be produced later as the brain develops. But right now, she's in that beautiful stage, in a sense, where she's completely alive, but absence of any noun. Fucking great. It's fantastic. Yeah, it's a great reminder, because I do not believe that fact ever really gets changed. I believe that fact is hidden by an interpretation, and we enter the world of name and form. Yeah. Yeah, I humbly see that. So I remember we had a meeting, Amanda used to go there, and one day a beautiful woman came, beautiful, and she spent some money on the beauty. Yeah, she had a lot of work and very beautiful clothes, and a lot of people were noticing her at the talk, because by then at that time we had a lot of people. So, and then suddenly someone brought a kid, a young child, and all the attention off the beautiful lady went right to the kid. And the kid didn't pay $30,000 to look that way, because she's not looking that way. There's just looking that way. She's not doing it. She's never going to be doing it. She'll be told over and over and over again she's the doer of it. But in fact, that's why the head doesn't remember when you were a baby, because its story of you is absent. Yeah. It has a freaking huge mystery. When is your earliest memory? Maybe 3 or something, if you're lucky. Most people it could be later. You've lived a part of your life completely anonymously. Anonymously. Everyone was calling you something, but you had no idea what was going on. And when you pass away, you're not going to experiencing the pass away. Other people will experience your passing. You will not experience, you will have passed. There's not going to be a you lingering around telling you that you died. You'll be dead, the whole system, like that. But what we are was not born, nor will die. And that spirit that's in that child right now is the spirit that's seemingly surrounding all of us. Yeah. Why can't, it's weird. When I was a kid, Catholic kid, every week we'd have a class about God, yeah, or something. And I remember they beat it into us. There's 3 attributes God has. God is all powerful, all knowing, and ever present. So, yeah, God's everywhere, all knowing, and all powerful. And as a kid, I just was amazed. Why am I not running into God? I'm running into Peter Kennedy. I don't want to run into him. I'm running into him every day. Why am I not running into that which is always here? How can I be missing it? Yes, see, this is what happens. The head misses the obvious and gets obsessed with the uniqueness that it manufactures. Yeah. This is the dilemma in recovery. The person who's been taken over by the same parasite of addiction thinks they're uniquely different than another person taken over by the same parasite. And even though there's evidence that thousands of people who have been taken over by addiction usually will end up in the same 3 parking spaces, each one of them believes the story of how they got to the same 3 parking spaces uniquely. Yeah. And that's institution, jails, and death. And they still don't see it. The head will not let you see the commonality of what's going on. So it's always about you. And you're more the driven than the driver. Yeah. Anger takes people over and they get a 30-year prison sentence. Yes. So the idea of non-duality, knowledge wasn't going to work because I tried knowledge. What worked was loss of interest in the subject called Paul. Yeah. Simple as that. I lost interest. People presented that it may not be you. I had a very strong suspicion that that may have been the case, and it got galvanized by hearing it. Someone passed on an understanding to me, and in my life, understanding has worked. When I understood that I was truly screwed in recovery, I realized I had the ability to be convinced. I've never picked up a drug or alcohol for 37 years now. I have no interest in it at all. I didn't know that was possible, but there is a point that you can be convinced. And I was convinced similarly with this message of non-duality. And when all that which is presented as me, which was like almost a gravitational pull of interest and attention, when I saw that wasn't me, the interest and attention got dispersed. And it started to enrich my day. And I noticed that it had been used to enslave my day to this idea of Paul. Yes? And then I got relief, not as Paul, but from Paul. Not as Paul. See, relief as Paul is one of the most obsessive activities the head has. Yes? It talks about how terrible this is, and it will do anything to get out of it, but it wants to get out of whatever it's in as that which it's in. So self can't get out of self. That's why it will vow that it wants to get out of self. It will try. If you give it a lifetime of practice, it will do it. But if you say you are already that which you're looking for, it has no interest in it. Yeah, because you are already that which you're looking for. You are what you're looking for now. Yeah, with no requirements necessary other than seeing the unreal is unreal instead of calling the unreal real. Yeah. You don't have to do it into the world, just do it right where you're sitting. Yeah. You are not a body that's conscious. No, this is not that way. Yeah. So that's non-duality in my view. Very simple. You see or you become aware of something that you used to be looking from. So the head is a very quick movement, if you notice. Yeah. So when you do something, you feel like the doer of it very quickly. Yeah. And not only do you feel like the doer of that one doing, when the doer is claimed, you feel like a historical doer. You feel like you've done a whole lot that you shouldn't have, some that you should have, and it just riffs on this idea. Yes, you can see it. It's easy, obviously. Yeah. So this idea of being the doer and the feeler and the taster and the toucher and the haver and all these positions and conditions we claim are a mental activity. And I humbly believe this mental activity is faster than any other activity. So when there's a doing occurs, the sense of being the doer is very fast. I don't think you can get before it. So if you can't get before it, you must be that which is after it in a way. In other words, you're that which is manufactured by it. And part of the manufacturing of you that is in it is a drive to get out of it. Yeah. This is the real bondage of self. You try to get out of what you're not in, and you try to get into what you're not out of. You're trying to get into the moment, which you've never been out of, and you're trying to get out of something you've actually never been in. Yeah. When that gets clear, I had this experience. I was involved in this group in Australia. And at this point, I realized meditating retreats wasn't, I was screwed up emotionally from my upbringing, addiction, you know, I had an inability to have a viable relationship with another person, all this stuff. So I went to this event. They had an 8-day thing coming from a big group. Some people know it in the room, the Rajneesh group, the Sannyasin group. And so they had this thing, nice place, and they had an ability to produce cathartic events. These people were good at what they did. Yeah, it was called the Path of Love. And so I went there. I didn't know anybody there. And they were all in sort of intertwined with a big community. I didn't know anyone there. I just went. And every day you'd have talking, and then in the middle of the day they clear out the room and put mattresses, and they had a DJ, and they'd start playing music, and people would just go off, start crying, going to cathartic events and everything. And you'd be sitting there, I'm not going to go. And then you'd be crying and everything. It was wild. It was 8 days. And it was uh, obviously started loving a lot of people when those things go down and everything. And so after about the 6th day, I had this event, and all the people that ran it were very keen on what I was going through. Yeah, I became the star of the whole event. And I was crying and laugh, going, I can never get back. I can never get back. Like I've left the Godhead and I've done something terrible I can never undo. Yes. And it's my yoke to try to go to where I can never get back to. It was wild. So I'm crying and I can never get back. I can never get back. It was very dramatic. And, I had the tears of 1,000 seekers coming out of me. And then suddenly a day or two later, I realized I can never get back because I've never left. That was it. I haven't left what I think I've left. Yeah. I haven't missed what I think I've missed. Yeah, it was beautiful. It wasn't, but my stock in that community dropped completely. As soon as I wasn't a seeker, they had no interest in me. But that's what happened. I saw the seeker is the sought instead of the seeker and the sought. So the seeker and the sought is a dynamic of the seeker never changes. The seeking modalities do, and the soughts may change, but the seeker never changes. So all the seeking and all the soughts are there to reinforce the seeker, really. This is the dilemma of spiritual seeking. If you don't know it, what's getting reinforced is not what you think is getting reinforced. That which would like to escape is the prison, really, literally. Yeah, just see it. You'll see it. If you just sit in satsang and hear this message, the evidence is all there. Your head wants to collate it and point figures somewhere else, but with the understanding of non-duality, you're going to get the direct dope on it. You're going to realize it. It's going to be obvious that you start before the mental state starts you, that you are here before it makes up a mental here. Yeah. So what happened with me, this stuff started to tumble out. And then I was speaking in recovery, because that's the community I come from. And there people need help. I mean, yeah, there was a lot of suffering being produced, a lot of suffering. So I was doing, somehow we made a website. We failed for about 3 years because the only people that knew about the internet were young people, and they'd always go out before they figured the website. So it took about 3 years, and then we got this website. Instead of calling it the ever-present one, we called it zenbitchlap.com, just for, as sort of a satire on the, the long hair, monotone, loving gaze character. Yeah, because the head images or conceives of what it would look like to be spiritual as a body. Yes, obviously. And a lot of people try to live, they want to become a spiritual body, so to speak, which is pointless. Yeah. All right. So we put this thing out, and then I started going to a lot of different groups. And then I saw the addiction of spiritual seeking, which was really cool. Because actually, an addiction, someone's going to intervene sooner or later. The police, hospital, whatever. But no one's going to come to one of these meetings and tap you on the shoulder and say, you got to leave. They're not. And you can sign up for 50 retreats and no one's going to say, maybe you've gone to too many retreats. Yes. So the addiction isn't about stopping one thing and starting another thing. The addiction is to self. And it finds lots of vehicles to express that addiction. One flamboyant is addiction and alcoholism, but the addictive nature of the head it's like water, it's gonna find a way through food or anything else. And there's gonna be a preoccupation of interest and attention on something that you're not. Exactly. So it's worked with me. I got relief, and what changes the seeker and the sought is when the seeking stops. Yeah. So when you lose interest in the seeking, and then you lose interest in all the thoughts, what does your attention finally look at? The seeker. And then it sees the emperor with no clothes. Yeah. So if you know the idea of the emperor with no clothes, or you're managing the guy in the Wizard of Oz whose explosion, and you're taking the explosions incredibly seriously, then you see him as a small little dude behind the curtain. The explosions can keep going on, but you don't take them that seriously anymore because you saw the emperor has no clothes. So this idea of seeing the seeker is clothed by the seeking and the desires for the sought. Yeah, that's its clothing. When the seeking stops, you see the seeker naked. You see it, the emperor with no clothes, and it gives you the ability to recognize it even when it's wearing a lot of clothes. So stuff doesn't have to stop. You just see you're not the one that wants it to stop or not to stop. You just see you're not the one, basically. Whatever that one is put before, it doesn't matter what it's put before. It's that one that's put before. Yeah. And when you lose interest in that, your life it doesn't matter really, but it may sculpture a different life for you. Yeah. But at least you'll be traveling lighter no matter what life has in store for you. This isn't like a get out of jail free card. It's about you lose interest. And that loss of interest is the key. And self cannot lose interest in itself. That would be interest in self. Yeah. So this mental manufacturing, when it vows to become humble, it's proud about that. It just can't pull it off. Simple. So what happens is the interest and attention migrates for one basic thing. What triggers the migration is you see the possibility you're not that. And then the loss of interest follows. And when the loss of interest follows, every cackle of the geese is reaffirming you're not that. Yeah. And now then as this, if this doesn't go anywhere, you travel lighter as this, not being this, truly. Yeah. The relief this is looking for comes from something other than it. It's not going to find it as it, because this is the underlying dis-ease, discomfort, and chaos, is this identification, trying to fit everything around you instead of fitting you around everything. So this is it's a simple message. It can be repeated, and there's nothing new in non-duality. We just entered 2025. There's nothing new in non-duality. It's the same invitation that when it was first given. Yeah, you're not that. That's the invitation. Check out the head and see if that head implies there's someone who has the head. There's no someone who has the head. Yeah, just there isn't. And I think your interest and attention of the day could better represent what you call you by the freedom from this bondage of self. I mean, I paint it flamboyantly, but that which enriches my day now used to enslave me. It's the same interest and attention. It's what it's directed to. Yeah. When it was directed to self, it was very myopic. When it's directed by something else, it sees the panoramic. And in the panoramic, it sees the myopic, though the myopic can never see the panoramic. But you'll see the myopic, and it's not you. You don't have to kill it or anything like that. The irrelevance or putting it in its rightful place is the case. It's not a worthy foe to wrestle with. You just lose interest in it. Yeah. You lose interest in it. I hear if someone comes here and they have reached the 11th dimension and they still think they were the one that reached the 11th dimension, I don't care at all. I don't care how clear you are if there's a you that's clear. I'd rather be clear about you're not you. Yeah. I see a lot of clear yous. and there's the bondage of self. I see a lot of clear U's do tons of ayahuasca and DMT, and they still come out of it with a person. They're the ones who did the DMT and ayahuasca. Yeah, I have no interest in all that because to me, it's clear. If you don't see this mental activity of claiming and presenting a noun as the Lord or doer of all the verbing of life, you're going to be looking from it. And if you look from it, if this mental process is there without seeing it, it infects what you do later. Yeah. So if you've tried to study other processes to get out of this process, it's going to infect the other processes, and there'll be a you in that third process trying to get out of the you never were from the first process. This is the beauty of spiritual activity. This is the futility of it. It's not going to work. You can't get out of what you're not in. You cannot get out of what you're not in. It's impossible. That's the success of all the spirituality is failing because you are what you're looking for. So what needs to be beaten down? The stubborn habit of looking for it. Yeah. And how is that going to be beaten down? By failure, constant failure. Yeah. How many people have met something and rested there the rest of their life? Now it's always, I like Buddhism, so we're going to go to a radical Buddhism, a radical radical hybrid of Tantra and Buddhism. I mean, they're just trying to package. They're not changing the formula. They're just trying to change the vehicle. Yeah. I'm going to keep seeking, but I want to seek another way. Zen meditation, Vipassana meditation. It's just changing the seats on the Titanic. Yeah. It's not the form of seeking that's the problem. It's the seeker. The idea of the seeker is the problem. Yeah. The only way the idea of the seeker will lose interest in seeking if it's presented as a sophisticated new way of seeking. Yes. When the self hears non-duality, it starts entertaining. I want to be a non-dual self as a self. Yeah, that's what it does. It has a mechanical reaction to everything. It's like the hammer sees everything as a nail. It's just the way it goes. So people are just trying to change the different horses of seeking, with the hopes of arriving at where they're never going to arrive at because they have never left. Just like she has no idea of leaving yet. That's why she's freaking cool. Then somebody will stuff will happen and she'll fall into this format. And now she will at one point maybe feel like she's out of the moment. Do you think she's actually concerned? I never took my mother into my room and asked her to look at my playing. Am I playing? Mom, is Wayne playing better than me? No, it was nothing. Did you ever judge your playing when you were a kid? Give me a break. This is all added on. And now it's become the bedrock of an interpretation. And we're like the Tower of Pisa, leaning. Yeah. And then all we want to do is try to correct the lean when the foundation is off. Yes. So yeah, there is a solution. And in this case, you have to admit, in this world, I had trouble with sinuses a lot. So someone from our group took mercy on me and sent me some sinus pills, yeah? And they said that these work. So I read the box, and what it said was, it masks the symptoms. That to me is not a solution, yeah? It allows me a movie does that. It allows me to forget something for 2 hours. Yeah. But in recovery, and therefore the basis of non-duality, you meet a solution that's not applied to a problem. Because in this solution, there is no problem, literally. Yeah. So beautiful. So beautiful. And if you try to get something out of non-duality, it's not going to open up. You can't, it's like a desert tortoise and the coyote finds the desert tortoise and it runs around trying to get the meat, and the tortoise is just sucked in. And then the coyote loses interest and takes off. This is like non-duality. If you try to make it as something to make you a better person, it's not one drip of it's gonna be secreted, literally. Yeah. But if you lose interest in all these affairs or see that you're not the one who has all this interest, then it blossoms, it blooms right where you're sitting. Yeah. And then you travel lighter. And what more do you want here? Literally, what more do you really want as an action figure? You're saddled with time, yes? You've had the best day you've ever had, but another day usually shows up. Yeah. You felt great at 9 in the morning, but now it's 11 in that night and you feel terrible. Time just keeps on grinding experiences out, on and on and on. And I'll tell you, it wears the noun out, I think. Yeah. The noun just can't take being the experiencer all the time. So there is a solution, not for the problem. The solution isn't to you or for me. That's not the solution. That would be seen as the problem from the solution. Yeah. Once the problem claims the solution, it can be used as a problem. Just look at the word enlightenment. One of the definitions of the word is cessation of all suffering. What has a head that has heard the word enlightenment done with it? Cause pain and suffering, yes? Comparing you with someone else you think shouldn't be awakened or enlightened, and they are, and how are they enlightened and you're not? Yeah. Would people in spiritual groups, would they have done better never hearing the word awakening? Definitely. Definitely. Because now they're constantly looking, am I on? They have no idea to judge the condition, yet they're trying to, am I awake? What's going on? Yeah. It's just the head claims whatever it's introduced to and uses it for its own ends. Yeah. So that's the presentation. The proof is in the pudding, really. If most of us were satisfied and content, there would probably be no spiritual seeking. Yeah, no one has this, very few people have this huge longing. It's just because they're irritable, restless, and discontent, and they're trying to get some freaking relief from that. Yeah, but if you were content and satisfied, I bet you a lot of your activities would change. Yeah, because most of them are trying to get out of something that you're not in. And then you get to a point where you're chilled with that, and then you're completely here. Whatever here is Novato, completely here, sleeping, awake, yeah, all the time. I've never been out of any moment, and you have never been out of any moment. Yeah, without you, there ain't no moment. It doesn't happen. So, yeah, this was too many things happened in this life. Getting struck sober was a monstrous demonstration, because one of the things said in recovery, which people who have ever been in it know for sure, is that no human power could change this condition in the person. And that was the case with me. My mother had the church praying for me, tons of stuff. The state wanted it to change. I wanted to change. Nothing could do it. And I was struck sober one day. And that night I was introduced to a way of life called recovery. And it's worked for 37 years. And this is a solution that's from another dimension. I truly believe. I believe you are already this solution. What better solution can there be? You're already the solution. All you got to see is the problem as being unreal instead of looking at it and thinking it's real. Yeah. Yeah. I want to read something if I can. This is my favorite scripture right now. I got to go into the library. Take me 5 minutes.
You want me to take over? I'll take over.
I gotta go through a lot of books.
Entertain the public. Zoom public.
I want to use this because it triggers an avalanche in me, so I like it. Yeah. Yeah. This is the scriptures of Zen Slap. I'll show you. This is it. One page. Not even finished. This is it. This contains the whole wisdom of Zen Bitchla. So probably more subtractions will occur, not nothing. So here, I don't know if you ever heard of Ramana Maharshi, a very great saint. He's like the godfather of non-duality. If you're interested in him, I was always tripped me out because he lived in a diaper his whole life. Pretty cool. Yeah. Could you get away with that? Probably not. It's pretty good. So here he goes. So again, he was seen as someone who had seen most of the mysteries of life. Yes. So here he is saying what he thinks is the greatest mystery. Pretty cool. And when you read, a lot of people wrote about him, and he says in all the writings, there'll be these same principles that he puts down, usually presented as the greatest mystery or the problem. So here's the greatest mystery. There is no greater mystery than this, that being the reality ourselves. I'm not talking to her. She knows already. Yeah, she is. She's the enlightened one because there's no one. There is no greater mystery than this. Wow. To hear this from this guy who you believe would be a master of mysteries, he's saying there is no greater mystery than this, that being the reality ourselves, we seek to gain reality. Now, he's given you a beautiful yardstick. Yes, if you hear this, he's stating that you are reality now, right now, with no requirements or changes or anything. Your inherent nature is real. Yes? Okay. That being the reality ourselves, we seek to gain reality. We think that there is something binding our reality and that it must be destroyed before that reality is gained. It is ridiculous. Wow. A day will dawn when we will ourselves laugh at our own efforts. That which is on the day of laughter is also now. Yeah. So he's saying, so if anything in you is looking for reality, it cannot be you because you're reality. So he's giving you a perfect yardstick to see what's going on. If something is professing and drawing out a long, lifelong plan of you arriving somewhere called reality, it's not you because you are reality. So anything that's saying it's going to be reality or it once was reality but blew it is not you. Isn't it a beautiful yardstick from a great master? Being ourselves reality. Listen to what the head's saying. It's trying to get somewhere usually. It's trying to do something usually. Yeah, yeah. In its case is, all right, so here, the next page of the Zen Bitch scripture. It is false to speak of realization. So this kid is already realized, as all kids are. Now it's going to develop a brain that's going to tell him it's something else. And that realization that's always realized is still always realized, but it will be an unsuspecting resource in her. Yes, she will have adapted a story and go on, and it's inevitable in a way. But the unsuspected resource that's available right now is still going to be available at all times. Yeah, yeah. So here, it is false to speak of realization. What is there to realize? Okay. That's a good thing to sit with as a question mark. What is there to realize? And he's going to tell you his take. Yeah. The real is as it is always. How to realize it? Well, I would imagine if you were a seeker, this would be interesting. How to realize it? Yeah. He says, okay, how to realize it? All that is required. Wow. All that is required. I hope you have a lot of ink in your pen. A lot of requirements are coming. A lot of them. All that is required is this: we have realized the unreal. That's it. So what does satsang do? It shares our realization of the unreal, presents the unreal so that the real can look at it and come to the same conclusion. Yeah. Yeah. And what you take yourself to be is in the unreal camp. What's seeing is real. The seer isn't, but the seeing, the awareness of things is what our nature is. We're not a thing that is aware. It's the awareness of things. The thing is not aware. The thing is a non-existing entity, a thing. It's a non-existent thing. I had an Uncle Fred, met him a lot when I was between 4 and 9. He passed away. My mother took me to the funeral, an open casket. They were talking about Uncle Fred. And then my mom said, "You want to say goodbye to Uncle Fred?" I wasn't that keen on it, but she grabbed my hand, walked me up to the casket. And I looked in and I said, that ain't Uncle Fred. Yeah. It was a non-existent thing that I had been calling Uncle Fred because I assumed the misunderstanding I was in was the same misunderstanding Uncle Fred was in. I thought I was the body. I didn't see that, and the body was alive. I didn't know that existence illuminated this non-existent thing. And when the existence shifted, the non-existent thing fell back into what it always had been, which is a non-existent thing. Yes. So when you pass away, the body doesn't, does it? The body's still there. Yes. Something's evacuated the premises. The body that has eyes that are still there, but aren't seeing anything. Has a head still there, no thoughts are being noticed. Yeah. So something had left, and what's behind was what we called the something that was there. Yeah. But obviously, the something that was there wasn't the something that was there. It's still here, and something left. Yeah. Wouldn't you like to know the difference between one and the other? To put so much attention in something that's going to go inevitably, instead of allowing your attention to rest in what's always here, just a change of percentage of interest and attention. Yeah. Now I'm more interested in the space of life than the things in life, where before the obsession with the things of life cost my sense of the space. Yeah. If you go into a classroom, giant black chalkboard, you look at it. The next day you go in there, someone put one dot of chalk, your attention goes right there, yes? At the expense of the black chalkboard. You look at the thing that's appearing in it. You're not doing that. That's mechanical. Yeah. So, yep. I rest my case. It's not a case anyway. You came here, so you're going to hear it. I wouldn't go where you are if you didn't want to hear it. I wouldn't. I'm not going door to door. Can I talk to you about non-duality? No, doesn't work that way. Yeah. But if someone shows up here, I feel like you're at least, well, some of us were probably taken here without notice, but you're here and it's bearable because it's going to end shortly. Yes. And then someday you may think, man, that old dude, he was insane, literally. He needed help. Well, there is a fine line between insanity. All right. Anyone, you have any questions? You get the idea of it? You don't have to look at the broad group of duality, but see the dualism of your own experience. You are thought about, yes, during the day. You're walking around in heads thinking about you, maybe how you look or whatever. Yeah. And then sometimes you're the thinking of someone else. So now the object of you gets replaced with another object. And now there's a thought about this, thinking about that. Yeah. But then there's the claiming of being the subject that's doing that thinking. There's no subject doing the thinking. It's just thinking about an object. Yeah. So I found great relief. And I'll tell you, when I didn't have the relief, I sought relief to great ends with drug addiction. And no matter what punishment no matter what consequence I had to feel, I'd have to pay tomorrow. It seemed to be worth it not to feel this bad today. Yeah. So the addiction took me for a long, long ride. And if you don't die, you may come back with some clear observations of it. And I humbly believe the head is addicted to this idea of being the doer, the thinker, the feeler, the taster, the toucher. And the dis-ease that produces formulate what we call addictions out here. So people are eating to get out of that feeling. People are shooting drugs to get out of that feeling. Yeah. We don't see the drug of self because we're living from this, the drug of self. We think self is us when it's actually a mental drug. And the mental drug is addicted to it. There's no rehab for it yet. They don't. But really, every rehab you go for every topic of addiction, every object, drugs, food, sex, whatever, the real addictive thing is the head's addiction to self. That's the primary cause of everything, I feel. Yeah. So it can't lose interest in itself, but you can because you're not it. That's the beautiful news. If you could get a feeling that you're not the thinker, thoughts won't have so much power over you. Thoughts have power by the my that you give them. Yeah. Somebody right now, you may have a thought that's driving you crazy because it's held as yours. I'm not holding that thought as mine, so it doesn't drive me crazy. What happens tomorrow? I held the same thought as mine. It has the ability to drive me crazy. It's not the thought, it's the my. Yeah. Actions don't bind you as much as my actions bind you. Yes. My is a very small word, but put before any other word, it changes the next word. Money, I want everyone here to have a lot of money. My money, I don't want any of you to have my money. Yeah. I didn't change the word money. I just put my in front of it. Guess what? Your life is going to have a huge different meaning than life. And I much rather live a life of its own meaning than my meaning because it drove me crazy. It did. Yeah. And I don't expect that snake to have rehabbed sufficiently not to be a snake. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, there you go. I'm gonna open up here and then we'll have some whatever we have, some food or coffee or something. You have any questions here? Yeah. No? Great. All right. Any questions? Who's running the show here in this one?
Hey, it's me and Vlad and Judy in the background.
Oh, it's Shannon. All right, great, Shannon.
So we got Gio. Yeah.
Oh, Gio from Brazil has come. All right, Gio, you have a question. I have a question. Where have you been, Gio?
Yeah, I don't know where I have been, Paul. How are you?
All right.
I have been walking around here and there, seeing different perspectives and different ideas and different, people. No, I have been listening to what you have been saying and what you read, and just a few words popped up here and I want to share. And the main thing that I want to share is there is no separation. There is no separation. It's impossible. It's impossible to separate something from what already is. Nonetheless, the self, or what you call the selfing, is an ongoing fabrication pretending that I am out of what already is. But even logically, it is impossible, it is absurd to conceive something that is out from already what is. How could something not be what already is? It's impossible. And that's why I say there is no separation. It's impossible. Yeah, this is what popped up in my mind here. Nice to see you again, Paul.
Yes, nice to see you, Gio. But remember, the dreaming is rooted in separation. So yes, everything is, but there's an appearance it ain't. Yeah. And you have to sort of throw that in the mix, I feel. Yeah. All right. Anyone else? I've been infused with power here. I'm very ready for a fight now. I'm into it. Let's go. Can I do myself into a pre-existing condition? No. All right, go ahead.
Go
Anyone
ahead,
else?
Saraswati. Yeah, I think Saraswati has her hand
Oh,
up.
Saraswati. All right.
Hi, Paul.
Hey,
Hey. So, what do you think? Do you think that a tree exists, or do you think that a tree is the energy moving through it? Now,
I
maybe
live as if the tree exists. I don't think about it either way. Yeah.
I don't either way either.
Yeah, I don't think about it or anything. I live as if it exists. I like seeing them.
So does my body exists, and I'm the energy moving through it. Am I both?
No, I don't think the body exists. I think something lights up. Does the bulb exist, does it just transmit the light?
I don't think the light could transmit without the bulb.
Oh, yes, it can. Sure.
Like as the bulb?
Not as the bulb, because the bulb isn't what's putting out the light. It's the little metal things inside.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a very
You
point
can
though.
have little metal things inside. Yeah. You'll see
Okay.
the essence of light when you touch the two things.
Okay.
That's how I see it. Trees. Yeah. Trees. If I don't drive the car into the tree saying this tree doesn't exist, I drive around the tree. I assume
And
on a certain level it exists. I don't believe it exists. I don't believe it exists as existence because it comes and goes. Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
does exist.
Yeah. So, but I like trees. I don't try to explore them that much farther. I like different trees. I like Northern California. I like the dark green of Northern California than the woods of Long Island. Yeah. Yeah.
And the palms of Maui.
And the palms of Maui. Whatever. Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
I guess when I am in identified as self and identified as this body or identified as this mind, and I have pain, whether body pain or mental pain.
Yes. Yeah.
And then when I work with negation, it falls kind of flat sometimes.
Just take an ibuprofen.
Well, it doesn't really help. Okay, it helps my body, my knee. I hear what you're saying, where I could watch.
You're not trying to affect your spirit. You want relief from the knee pain. Take something that works. Yeah, like Amelia had something going on. She doesn't like one thing, but Advil works. So we went and got her Advil and she took it and she got some relief from the knee pain.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah,
Thanks, Paul.
I'm not looking at I'm not investigating that. Yes? Certain situations I don't investigate. There's a certain sense of knowing, and the importance to know it isn't that important. Yeah. So if I have a pain in the knee, I use magnesium. I put it on, I don't take it, I use it, and it seems to work. So that's it. And then I pass it on to someone who has knee pain. I go, hey, And they go, oh, I take magnesium. I said, do you put it on? No. And then they call me and say, wow, it really worked. It went right through the skin. Yeah. Now, is it real or not? I don't care. This is just, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I would much rather see the unreality of Paul than the unreality of everything else. Yeah. Knowing the unreality of everything else and taking Paul real, to me has no value. So I don't care about the reality of everything else. I just wanted to see what's real or not here. That has a huge effect on how I dance with everything else, real or not. Yeah. Yes. All my investigation direction is based there on that. I look at this dynamic and then I lose interest in examining a lot of other stuff. Yes. Yes. Yeah.
I guess what I'm trying to share, what by way of a silly tree example, is that, and knee example, because both of those are relatively easy for me to negate. Where I struggle is when the negation or when the suffering is on the inside of my body, or in the like my energy system, or inside my mind, you know. And
But what you're negating isn't the effects of it. You're negating the reality of it.
yeah, I guess I'm trying to say that,
Negating isn't like a high level pain killer.
yeah, it's not a painkiller at all. In fact, a lot of the time, you
So
know,
the
it's like,
negation is of the reality of it, not the effects of it. Yeah. So
yes, I agree with that. It's just I'm not traveling lighter. I agree, you know, but it's like when there's heaviness in my psyche and negation falls flat, and I can recognize it's a construct. Self is caught in self, or however we want to say it, that,
no, honey, humbly, let me jump in. All right. Can I say something? Before I
yeah,
lose it. This is a dualistic situation. So there's heavy and light. Yeah. The traveling lighter that we are talking about isn't lighter and no heavy. It's traveling lighter through light and heavy. Yeah.
yeah,
Sometimes
agree.
it's heavy, but it will be lighter than it was before. And sometimes it's light and it will be less important than it was given before. So the relief isn't from the heavy and light, it's that how you travel through those events. Because in this, what
Yes,
our mechanical seeing is dishing up is called a dualistic experience.
yeah,
It's the coin of the realm. One side is pain, one side is relief. You can't have one without the other. That's the point of the realm. Yeah. But how can you travel lighter through that currency? Because
I,
you're not going to win if you just try to make every coin have heads on both sides. It's not going to work. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
So
I hear,
it's not,
I'm trying,
negation may not produce an effect in the immediate discomfort. It's it's uh it's affecting the traveling, how you travel through a misunderstanding reaction. Yes, yes.
Paul, I get afraid when I get very afraid when I am in a psychological, mental, whatever state, and I work with negation, and, you know, not like I think it's a magic pill or where there won't be suffering, but when it's like falls completely flat, I get afraid, you know, like, oh,
Yes. And
yeah,
then at
like,
that point, I would use that fear, that contraction, and ask who is it that has that contraction?
okay,
Yeah.
yeah,
Because usually the statement, I'm really afraid, is taken to be a fact, so to speak, and then you go into why am I afraid, or why, how can I minimize it? But why not ask who is it that is afraid? Because
yeah,
the assumption that there's a powerful block of meaning and understanding isn't true. That's a vague, shadowy space that's before I'm afraid. Yes, Yes. Yeah. This will bring a long-lasting relief, not an immediate pain remover. Yeah. Yeah. It'll produce a stabilized traveling lighter with, and then you won't have so many bets on having it always go well, or trying to avoid the discomfort. You'll just instead of like swimming against a lot of shit, you'll just go with it. Yes. Yeah. And you'll have a belief, a strong one, that whatever it is, this too shall pass. And who knows what the consequence or the final playing out's going to be. Like today, I was under a very nonchalant assumption nobody was going to come because of the rain. Yes. And there was a certain hedge of maybe that would be good because the kids are here, and so on and so forth. And of course, we were totally surprised by these lovely visitors. And there you go. Yeah. And so instead of, the thing was a flimsy idea, and it was proven to be a flimsy idea. And then I didn't even get a sound idea to back it up. It was just a flimsy idea. It wasn't true. And here we are having a talk with a lot of people I've never met before. It's fine. Great. Yeah. But I was assuming stuff. And so we didn't, whatever. So this is, it's cool. It's interesting. When something in life brings this thing out of the woods or out of the weeds, and you see it where it says, I'm really afraid, it's a perfect time to ask it who it is or what it is, because it's not you. It's a knot that's been bundled up. Yeah. It's a knot that's bundled up, and it's assumed to be you, and it's really afraid of itself being undone. But you may have great joy if it was undone. Yeah. But the idea of negation to me isn't to negate what comes up. It's who is it that seems to be the one it's reacting to it and stuff. I try to, the first response, I don't ask anything. The second one that comes in, that I ask, who is that? Because that's the assumption of me that I don't believe is true. And if that was working in my life, far out, I would have gone for it, but it didn't work. Yes. Seeing life from that me was a very myopic, very fucking tunneling event that caused a lot of irritability, restless, discontent. And this idea of being sensitive was bogus, because I wasn't sensitive to other people's feelings. I was very sensitive about my feelings, yeah, which I call self-obsession, literally. But, I'm a very sensitive person. I wasn't a sensitive person. I'd run you over if I wanted something. Yeah, so it was not, so it was just extremely sensitive about this me, this me that I'm not. And yeah, so that's how I look at it. And I think the investigation is over where I'm sitting. The investigation got called off. As soon as I saw a couple of things, that was pretty much over. I just, yeah. I just realized, yeah, it's just a reduplication of something I already understand. I don't want to keep understanding it. Yeah, it did its job. I got convinced. Something did anyway. And it's allowed peace to be entertained where it wasn't allowed before, and to understand that I don't understand, and to go along with stuff. I don't know. I may be crying like a baby on my deathbed. I don't know. But right now, I'm not. And yeah. And I have physical pain. I got run over twice by a car. I got it. Some of the injuries are for the rest of this body's life. I got run over in 1980. I still have the effect of that event now. So that's 45 years. And I don't think it's going to disappear, because it was chassis. It was my whole apparatus. The skeletal system got bent. Yeah. So I know what pain is like. And really what we're talking more about, you can take stuff, the pain, the suffering is interesting, because you are the harbinger. When you claim the pain, you're the bringer of time into it. and their suffering starts occurring because you think it's always going to be this way and it was never going to get better. And it gives you some incredible amount of forecasts. Yeah. That suffering, this message affects greatly. The pain in the body, I don't think I think on ibuprofen will probably do a better job of it than the philosophy I do. But on the suffering level, I think it's very, very, it promotes health, not like preventative health. Yeah. Yeah. Realizing that which is reacting to the pain and using it to elongate into suffering isn't you. Yeah. So you can travel lighter through that. Yes. Suffering drags things out, don't it? Pain is obviously now. Suffering is there and then. Suffering takes pain and draws it into time and plays another song with it. Yeah. Especially chronic pain. Chronic pain, it's a fucking opera. Yeah. And it may not end, but you can at least travel lighter through it, hopefully. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, Saraswati, I'm with you 100%, man. I like to see you, I like those wings of yours to be unencumbered by the mortal coil. Yes? Yeah. And I'm happy for you and everyone else's participation. Yeah. Yeah. I humbly believe this is the point that I was brought to. This is Lola, it's just an exuberant greeter. It's not, doesn't have any aggressiveness in it. Yeah. So, yeah, just, this was the end of the line for me, hearing this. And when I heard this, it told me something shortly thereafter, and it says, do not leave this point, because if you don't see the mental claiming of your life, you're looking from the mental claiming of your life. Yeah, you're not either of it. You are before it. But if you don't see it, your starting point is manufactured. It is. So I've been doing this for years and years and years, and there's nothing. If you listen to a talk from 15 years ago, it's basically the same talk we give today. Yes, there's no point to get to an advanced stage. There's no advancing in this. Yeah. So, all right. I've lost the whole room now. It's time. So we got a close shop there. Look at them all. Yeah, yeah. The dog came in and the baby came in. Hey, it was I was against two heavy opponents, a baby and a dog. It's hard. I held them as long as I could, and now it's all gone. It's chaos. All right. So anyone else? I'm so happy to see all of you, really, and thank you. Thank you for everything and nothing, but the space here where things can be 50 degrees or 80 degrees in this dreaming, the we of us getting together produces an effect that wouldn't be produced by one of us. Yes? So as we say in recovery, it's a loving power is expressing itself through our group conscience. And this is how I feel satsang is. Yeah. So here we are. We have some live people, live kid, and we have dog, and we have the Zoom. And it's pulsating in all these different ways, but it's the same vibration, as they say. Yeah. So, all right, I'm going to say goodbye. Saraswati, thank you so much. Kerry, as always, you're looking better than before, Kerry. Yeah, nice improvement. Mike Clark, yes, he's doing missionary work in Mexico. Jamie and Barbara, nice to see you guys. Lindsay, nice to see you from Australia. Yeah, very nice. Nice to see you, honey. Maral, as always, Maral. James Parker, he's a very, very thin line to my past. He knows some of my old friends when I was in grade school. Well, Judy Lovins, what a lovely name, eh? Judy Lovins. I like that name a lot. Judy Lovins will never sing the blues. Judy Lovins. John, Florida, nice to see you. Axel, Germany. Keith, David Lowe, Rico. Mia, hopefully you feel better, honey. Yes? Don't let your head tell you the forecast. Yeah. Rick Rowe. Gio. He's been wandering the dirt paths of Brazil. Yes, thank you. Brian C. Roman Mueller, my main man. Vlad, he made it safe to Portugal. Vlad was just here yesterday. Nice to see you. Chris H. Christmas is over. He's got a long vacation. Pretty cool. Ben. We got Angelica. I don't know if you've been here before or not. Well, I say hello to you. Yeah.
Well, we've met in person in Ireland
Oh, good.
back in 2019,
Oh,
18.
wow. Wow.
Ah, you were there with Jackson.
Oh, wow. Yeah, well, thanks for dropping in, eh? Come back. Lisa, I just talked to Lisa also. Eileen, she's really from Long Island, but she's in Arizona. Yeah. Let me get the other room. And then we'll do something if you like. You have anyone like coffee? Yeah, we can make some for you. Zoe, love to see Zoe. Eric Vista, nice to see you, Eric. Mary Champagne, that's a nice name, eh? Mary Champagne. Yeah, Shannon Corkery. Harry, oh, Harry from Portland. Nice to see you, honey. All's well? Oh, good. Annette. Oh, Drew, nice to see you. D. Semple. I don't know. Have I met you before, D? No? I think that's it. Hey, listen, thank you, everyone. We'll be back on Tuesday. Yes, back on Tuesday. Thank you for everything. Thanks for all the support. And Zoe, yeah, the long arm of Zen Bislap reaches over to Japan. Don't worry about it. Yes. Okay, thank you, everyone. See you. Bye-bye.
Take care, Paul.
Bye now.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Paul.
Paul.
Thank you,
Thank
Paul.
you.
Thanks, everyone. Love you guys.
Bye-bye.